Hello and welcome to another episode of Motors for the Masses, and today we have another cracking looking bike from Bullit. So roll the intro and let's get cracking. Crack. Belgian company Bullit have spoilt the 125 riders market with the amazing looking Hero and the Bullit Spirit. And then they revived the monkey bike from the 1970s and 80s with the Bullit Heritage. Well, now they have another amazing looking bike in the form of the Bluroc 250. Now remember, they also did the Bullit Hunt 250. Well, now they're back on the bigger CCs. So let's check this out. The V2, as so named, uses the Yamaha-based air-cooled 4-stroke EFI Lifan-built 249cc engine, which develops 16.8 brake horsepower and 12.5 pounds-foot of torque, which does sound quite low, but you may be surprised at how it performs, but we'll find that out later. Top speed is around 80 miles an hour, which is perfectly good enough for this style of bike, and what helps with its performance is that it only weighs 151 kilos and it has a 13-litre fuel tank. But it does have an MPG figure of around 60 and a NOx figure, nitrogen dioxide, of 24, which apparently is quite good. I don't know. You tell me. We quite like CO2s over here, but no one can seem to tell me what that is, and there's nothing online to say what that is. I'm sure it's not that high, but it'd be nice to know. But anyway, brakes. It's got ABS, and it uses a 280mm front disc with a quad piston caliper and a 240mm rear disc with a single piston caliper. Attached to the brakes, you get standard front forks and a rear monoshock, with quite a bouncy rear end and a seat that tends to slope backwards a little bit. And I don't know if that's an issue at the moment, but riding will tell us more. On paper, the handlebars do seem a little bit narrow, but they feel absolutely fine to me, especially for this style of bike. However, it is long and low at just over 2.1 meters long, just over 1 meter tall, and only 760 millimeters wide. And it has an 810 millimeter seat height. Tyres, you get a nice 100 by 17 Hyosung tyre on the front on these lovely spoke wheels. And on the back, you get a 130/90 by 15 on, again, the spoked wheel. And the size of that wheel gives it that nice retro scrambler look. The front lights are part LED and part halogen bulb, but it's a very bright bulb, and you get a circle of LEDs around the outside, which gives it just enough modern, but still retains the retro. And then you get traditional bulbs in the indicators. And on the rear, you get very subtle LEDs behind this nice textured glass, so it really retains that retro look. They've really done it well. So before we get it out on the road, let's pitch it against something that's quite similar. We're going to go with the Hyosung GD250N. Now that has a liquid-cooled engine, single cylinder, and it has around about 25 brake horsepower, so it should be an interesting match. But before we do that, let's start it up and have a listen. So what was that like? Well, I have to say, I really enjoyed it. It's let's address the seat first. Now, again, when you sit on it, you still got a bit of a slant on there. However, when you're riding it, all that does is encourage you to lean forward. And you feel like Steve McQueen when you're on it. I'm sure it's not the same, but you know what I mean. It's that style of bike. It's got that where, you know, it's got the sound, the raspy, raw sound that when you turn around in first, you want to pull away with your foot out like that. It's just got that fun factor about it. And it sounds epic. I absolutely love the way it sounds. It's got a real scrambler feel. And it's got a real retro feel. It's not as though it's just another generic bike. It's got a great feel about it. These tyres, which are Tim Sun tyres, actually work really well. Bearing in mind they're brand new. I was taking it around corners, not fast, but certainly not slow. And it held it really nicely. Not even a hint of a slip. These mirrors are fine. They're out far enough so you can see a decent amount, which is quite rare on a lot of bikes these days, let's be honest. I've got no problems with anything of it, to be fair. Top speed, again, it'll hit 70. That's what I'll say, okay? Without implementing myself. But it rides absolutely fine. The clock is easy to see. There doesn't seem to be a red line, I will say that, because the whole line is red, which is a bit confusing. So you don't know where it tops out, but it's easy to tell when to change gear. There's certainly no problem with that. The handles are easy to hold. The switch gears are pretty generic, like a lot of bikes these days. They're pretty solid. You know, the levers are good. They're not wobbly. They don't feel weak. They don't feel cheap. Everything does feel quite good quality indeed. Even the little reservoir pot here is a nice, solid, circular pot, and it's not cheap. The feel of the bike, the stance, when you're on it, you've got your feet back here. Again, as I say, it encourages you to lean forward a bit. And it certainly is a fun bike. Cornering, no problem. Speed, again, it doesn't encourage you because you don't want to be doing 100 miles an hour on this style of bike. So the top speed of around 80 is perfectly fine for this style of bike. Let's just say that, because anyone who goes, no, it's not very fast, is on the wrong bike, because you don't buy this style to do speed. Let's be honest. As far as the brakes are concerned, they're ABS, they work really well. They stop you. What more do you need to know, really? Any of you that are concerned about the fact that it's only got 16.8 or whatever it was horsepower, I don't think you need to be concerned, as we proved by that drag race against that Hyosung. Now that, as I say, is 25.5 horsepower and it's liquid cooled. And this beat it. So the torque certainly made up for it. And it pulls really nicely. It doesn't feel like a 16.5 horsepower bike. It feels like it's got a bit more power than that. What can I say that I don't like? Oh, the seat. When you sit on it, you've got that slope, but I have been assured, and I've seen pictures, that they are currently developing a custom version of this bike with a slightly different exhaust system, I can't say any more than that, and a seat that's more flat and not so much that. I can't say any more than that. I've seen pictures and it looks epic, just as much as this. And that does bring me on to the looks. I can't fault it in any way whatsoever. It looks superb. The tyres, the style, the mudguard is just right. The tank is the right shape. I love how these exhausts go around and the slight gold tinge to it. Really nice. This number plate works really well. The length and the height of it is just spot on. I have to say, Bullit, you really have nailed the looks of this bike. Power-wise, initially I thought, probably going to want a bit more power than that, but it's perfectly adequate. Adequate's a bad word. No, I don't want to use the word adequate. It is exactly right. Anything more than that, and maybe you'd be looking for a 450. For anyone who's looking for something that can razz around, have some fun on, it sounds superb. You can go in and out of town, you can commute on it, you can go on journeys on it, you can go on days out on it, keep up with traffic without an issue whatsoever. The only thing I could possibly say is that at 151 kilos, it is a little bit light, So if you get a gust of wind, you do feel it, and you do get a little bit of a wobble. But let's be honest, you get that on a lot of bikes. Right, I've got to think of something negative. What don't I like? What don't I like? There's nowhere to mount the camera, so there's very few shots of me being on the bike. That's about all I can say, really. Right, price. Well, the price is £3,699 on the road with a 2-year parts and labour warranty. Pretty good, I would say. If you've got any comments, please leave in the comment section below. If you've got any other suggestions as to what you think might be an alternative bike to this, then please, by all means, let us know, because I can't think of anything that this can be equated to be honest. And that brings us to the end of this episode of Motors for the Masses. Thank you very much for joining us. We're going to be back very soon with the Bluroc 125. It's not the same looker as this, but it's still a good looking bike. But you'll see that coming up very soon. We'll also be back on Bob soon. We've had a couple of comments from people going, has Bob been abandoned? No, it hasn't. I'm just trying to communicate with Malcolm to get him here and get it sorted. We've also got more coming up on the Escort. We're not going to start the Fiesta yet. That's going to be in the future. But we've also got more coming up on the Mach 1, and we've got some more bikes coming as well. So please stay tuned for that. Please like, subscribe and share and all that gubbins. If you want to support us, then please do. The link for our Patreon page is in the description below, as is the link for our Facebook shop, where you can buy various different bits of merchandise, hoodies and hats and mugs and watches even, and key rings and stickers and lots of other things. If you don't, then thank you for watching, and hopefully you'll click the like button, and that'll be just as good. So until next time, please ride and drive carefully, but have fun. Bye-bye.